sex.
Doing it, phone doing it.
Do you smoke after sex?
I don't know, baby. I never looked.
It's the topic that makes Gen Z squeamish.
They want it to be informed, inclusive. They want to make sure there's a focus on consent and a range of bodies. And I think they're asking a really important question.
Is there a purpose to this? Does this have intent? Is it going to develop the plot or the characters?
So less of this.
It's not what it looks like.
And more of this.
We are in this moment in time where socially we are grappling with these ideas of how sex should be viewed, how female desire should be viewed, how male desire should be viewed.
Naughty's heartthrob Penn Badgley made headlines recently when he declared he no longer wanted to film sex scenes.
Just got to a point where I don't want to do that.
Cracking down on suggestive or graphic scenes is nothing new. Hollywood in the 40s, 50s and 60s was decidedly chaste. But this current trend is driven by desires.
Because so much of cinema culture now is dominated by action blockbusters that wants to hit everyone from a 7-year-old to their 87-year-old grandmother.
Me Too definitely impacts the type of sex scene now deemed acceptable.
We're actually seeing a rise in intimacy coordinators on screen. So they are making sure that the actors feel safe, respected, they're making sure that there's consent from start to end of production.
So is raunch outdated? Or can sex still help tell great stories?
I'll have what she's having.
Michael Sun is a cultural commentator and writer, and he joins us now. Michael, would you say that Gen Z are cinematic prudes?
Well, I think that term, is like quite a loaded term, right? But I do think one reason is extreme galaxy brain take here because of COVID lockdowns. I feel like over the past few years, if you've come of age in this generation throughout lockdown, you have experienced less interactions with people, you have been having perhaps less sex in general, that is also a statistical thing that we might be able to find, that Gen Z is a generation that's having less sex than other generations so far. And I think all of that brings about this urge for comfort and safety, and I think that there is this whole idea that perhaps a sex scene in in media is not that.
So what you're saying, people who aren't having much sex don't like watching sex on TV? Well, that would certainly explain why I zoomed through all the sex scenes and Don't Worry Darling on the plane. I know, that's the state of affairs at the moment. Hey, how does Me Too impact how Gen Z interprets sex scenes?
The rise of consent culture is absolutely a brilliant thing, and Me Too, incredible movement that, of course, we should all celebrate. But I think because of that movement, there is so much more attention around how sex can be dangerous, sex can be exploited by bad and powerful men. And I think because of that, there is this quite prevalent idea of sex in younger people's minds, perhaps having that association with danger. There also is a thread on the internet as well of young people saying that they haven't consented in watching sex scenes in film and TV, which, arguably is perhaps a misplaced understanding of that concept in general. But I do feel like you can see why that train of thought would have developed over the past 5 years or a decade.
Michael, porn is everywhere. Do you have any recommendations? No. But
yes, I'll text them to you right now.
Yeah, terrific. But do you think there's a generation of people that have been turned off because they've been so overexposed to sex in their general media consumption?
I feel like the same people I've seen who would be really feeding into this kind of discourse are perhaps the same people who would also be anti-pornography. I definitely don't think it's because of pornography that sex scene discourse actually exists. And I feel like you can't really draw a straight line between those two areas at all, really.
Now, Michael, boomers like me love a good sex scene. I thought you Gen Z types were supposed to be progressive. What the hell's going on, mate?
A lot of people, when they talk about not wanting sex scenes in film and TV, they are coming from a very progressive place, or they think they're coming from a very progressive place. They're coming from this place where, they want media to be inclusive and cater to everyone's needs and everyone's desires. But I do think that people view this kind of sex scene discourse we're having today with a kind of danger, because there is precedence of censorship in cinema throughout Hollywood's history, and it seems like these people who are calling for less sex scenes in film haven't actually done their history research and haven't seen like the detrimental effects to queerness and representations of minorities on screen that can happen when you call for less deviation from the norm.
You've got a fair idea which side of this fence you're on, Michael. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.